Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and today we're going to cover the NWA Superpower TV or YouTube program from this past Tuesday, which would be the 12th. Um, NWA Power, for those that aren't familiar, is an internet program run by the National Wrestling Alliance, um, and it has been running. I think this is episode 21, so yeah, about 6 months worth of episodes, 5 6 months worth of episodes, under the auspices of Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins fame. It's a studio wrestling program. Most people haven't seen it. They've got about 200,000 followers. I said 100,000 earlier. I apologize for that. I didn't realize that they had grown that much. Anyway, if you like old studio wrestling, if you like the 70s and 80s look, if you like more storytelling based wrestling than move based wrestling, this might be for you. Luckily, Billy Corgan did say during this broadcast, which was originally meant for the Crockett Cup Go Home show before the pay per view, that they will be continuing with something called NWA Candy Yard. I'm going to try and fit that into my weekly viewing, but I don't know what my schedule is going to look like, as I have a new job approaching, probably in the beginning of June. So finding time to do everything I want to do and all I want to do it, even though I'm working about 16 to 18 hours a day now, NWA might not fit. Anyway, so Corgan opens the show and talks about how he hopes everyone's well. Um, this was meant to be the go home show for the Crockett Cup, but it had to be postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. He promised an announcement at the end of the show about the future of the organization. Marty Scurll and Brody King, which if you haven't seen either one of these guys, both are worth checking out. So go punch them into YouTube if you're not familiar. They come out to cheers from the crowd. Scurll says that he didn't come alone, and when you mess with him, you mess with the whole villain enterprises. King makes his way to the ring. If you haven't seen Brody King, dude is huge. He is a large fellow, probably legit 325 pounds, if not more, but can move like a cruiserweight when necessary, but wrestles like a heavyweight, which is good. Except he'll do a really overly athletic move here and there, but he's not that that focused. Anyway, Scurll, who has the book at Ring of Honor, is trying to integrate Ring of Honor with the NWA, which I think is good. I might actually care some more about the Ring of Honor talent, which I think is at an all-time low in their 18-year history. No disparagement to the guys that are there. I just think with so many wrestling options, Ring of Honor kind of lost out in a lot of ways, but Brody King certainly a worthwhile fellow. Anyway, uh, he says that PCO were the winners of the Crockett Cup last year, meaning Brody Lee and PCO, and former NWA Tag Team Champions King promised Scurll that he'd be the next NWA World Heavyweight Champion. A recap of the Camille story played, and we saw a preview from a few weeks ago that she was going to cut a promo. Camille is a super athletic version and more feminine version of an updated China, would be the best way I would describe her. Worth going out of your way to see if you haven't seen her before. Very unique look. Has the height of Baby Doll, the athletic ability of a lighter woman, and the power of China, I guess would be the way to put it. Certainly, I think if the NWA allows it, she'll get picked up somewhere larger between now and the end of the year. I think she's got something really unique. Rock and Roll Express come out for an interview with Sean Mooney. Talk about weird, man. Sean Mooney interviewing the Rock and Roll Express. Next thing you're going to know, Sting's going to pop along. Actually, there's talk that Sting may be going to AEW since his contract, Legends contract with WWE is over. Anyway, Mooney seemed genuinely excited to interview Morton and Gibson, who said that they've been around since 1985 in the NWA, looking to win the Crockett Cup. He said last year They lost in the first round to the Briscoes. I actually meant to go back and watch the Crockett Cup from last year, so that may be added to my view and review list here soon enough. But then they have a chance of winning this year, but no one thinks they can. But then who thought they would be 9-time champs? Rock and Roll Express just defeated Shooter Stevens and Question Mark. If you haven't seen Question Mark, he's a masked fellow, independent guy who basically professes to be a karate expert. And Shooter Stevens, otherwise known as Aaron Stevens, major standout in OVW, was called up to the main roster of WWE for a little while, and he plays a martial artist's gimmick as well. Anyway, so before the match starts, Stevens claims that his black belt proved his virility. I'm not quite sure how that works. I have a black belt, therefore I can impregnate you? No. Question Mark stated the start of the match with Morton and dropped him with a palm strike. Ricky Morton's 60 plus years old and still sells like he's in his prime. So many guys could learn from Ricky Morton at the independent level and some guys at the national level about selling. I mean, Ricky does have a school. I can't remember. I think Tennessee or Virginia, somewhere towards the southern part of the U.S. And if I were a wrestler, I'd probably go to Ricky's school just to learn the art of selling, just for that reason. In any event, Stevens tags in, misses an elbow, and then tags back out to Question Mark. Mark and Morton into the corner, and then we see Ricky Morton kind of coming back a little bit, and there are several tags between the heels, punches from Morton and Gibson, and Stevens flare flops in the middle of the ring. Stevens asks what happened, but he rakes the eyes and starts to get, things going back the way for his team. He asks for a timeout. Obviously doesn't get one. Trevor Murdoch comes out. Stevens says he has a backup named Question Mark Jr. Brian Milanos comes back out. He's wearing the Question Mark mask. So Brian Milanos, for those unfamiliar, and New England independent standout guy I worked with a few times, and current Ring of Honor star, I think. I know he was in Ring of Honor, and I believe he still is. I'm pretty sure on that. He helped to choke Morton on the ropes, but Morton chased him away. Question Mark Jr. collapsed out of breath halfway around the ring, and Stevens gets angry. Gibson shoves Stevens, and who falls backwards into a roll-up from Morton, 1, 2, 3. For promoters and promotions that think things have to be boom, 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 go, 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 flip, flop, fly, this can still work. Now, I understand they have a studio audience that primarily is old school fans, but I dare any national company, 6 months, limit high spots to 3 huge high spots per match. Just 3. One in the beginning, one in the middle, one in the end. And watch and see if the crowd doesn't come around to a more basic style. Give it 6 months, I guarantee houses will be up. Anyway, so then we go on to Melina coming out. She cuts a promo about why she should get a title shot at the NWA Women's Championship. Interesting. I mean, Melina, not known for being a heck of a wrestler, more of a mouthpiece manager type, but they're pushing her as a wrestler, and that's okay. Allison Kay, or AK-47, for those that followed her and Shine in that area, out and says she doesn't deserve a shot at the title because she lost it, and she lost a rematch. Kay comes out and referees were there to keep them apart. Kay says that Thunder Rosa beat her fair and square, and Melina ruined her rematch. She wanted to fight Melina at the Crockett Cup, and Allison called her a coward. I mean, this is kind of clunky, but it serves a purpose. Thunder Rosa comes out and gets a good reaction. Thunder Rosa, if you're unfamiliar, is I guess Hispanic, so would be the best way to describe her. Not that race matters, but you know, some people like to know race and that sort of thing. Anyway, she does MMA as well as pro wrestling. She's a girl that I think could go somewhere bigger if they give her enough background stuff. Exactly where she would go, I don't really know. I hope she doesn't go to WWE unless it's for the money, because I don't think they'd know what to do with her. But a larger national group probably would have some fun with her. She said she wants to represent her family, her dojo, and the NWA well, and she isn't going to lay down for anyone. She wants a triple threat match with Allison Kay and Melina, and she says she'll take on them both. Tim Storm against Jack Dane. Jax Dane in a no DQ match. Dane, who I believe is a member of Ring of Honor currently. Ring of Honor is probably the least followed national company for me, just because I don't like the format of their TV. It's more clip based, and if I can watch everything through Honor Club or through their TV, then why would I watch a clip based show? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I do watch their pay per views from time to time though. Dane starts the match by attacking Storm at ringside. Now Storm's in his mid-50s, but still wrestles like he can go. Man, it makes me sad that he never got a shot at a national company. I think he could have really done something cool. Anyway, big splash in the corner. Dane hits a belly to back suplex on Storm. And Storm and Dane are flying into the steps. Joe Galli told us that Storm it took Storm multiple times to beat Dane in the past for the World Championship. And yes, Storm is the oldest NWA World Champion to date. Both men brawled into the crowd, and Storm and Dane hit the railing. Dane's offense needs some work. I mean, there's light between the punches, and he's not that fierce unless he's doing a specific power move, and he uses a post and other things. Storm uses the gate on the leg of Dane, and then Dane fights back, and they go up and down the stairs. They come down to the announce table, brawled more at ringside, started a chop fest with each other, and then Dane hits a attempted a belly to back suplex on the Storm, but Storm didn't quite get all of it, and it looks like his shoulder gave out, and then his shoulder kind of smacks the floor pretty hard. Then we see Danny Deals give Dane a chair, but he's unable to use it. Storm ends up coming back around. Storm hits a big boot. Massive big boot, by the way. I think Kane style. I mean, wow. And then Dane stood right up and hit the Dane effect, a Samoan drop maneuver. Storm stands up too, and then Dane charged him, but Storm dodged, and Dane crashed headfirst into the exposed chair. And Tim Storm hits the perfect Storm for the win. He gets 5 minutes with the manager, hit the boss man slam on him, yada yada. Now, for those that hadn't followed the program, Danny Deals had dressed in drag for several weeks, pretending to be the mother of Tim Storm, who happens to be a legitimate person who is 95 years old. Storm obviously not a fan of this. Storm probably is one of the last old school baby faces, and I mean, if you think about it, over the 72-year history of the NWA, the oldest NWA champion of the 53-54 champions they had. Now think about that. 72-year history, 54 champions. Just really interesting when you compare something like WWE where they hot potato the belt a whole bunch. Anyway, Mae Valentine's diary airs, and she talks about how upset she was that Royce Isaacs got jealous of Sal Ronaldo. Mae was upset that Isaacs tries to break Ronaldo's other arm, and talked about how Isaac seems to like starting to lose his mind. It's fine. I mean, that was a filler segment. I didn't really care for it. Then we go Tasha Steelz, who's new in Impact, defeating Ashley Vox and Marty Bell in a triple threat match. This wasn't too great. The inexperience of the girls involved shows here. Vox and Steel are friends, so they didn't want to start the match together. And Bell steps into the ring. Vox goes for an early pinfall, but Bell broke it up. And several breakups of pinfalls throughout the match. Rolling suplexes hit on Vox by Steelz. Steelz cuts her off, avoiding a charge in the corner, and then floats over onto Vox. Bell hits a rolling elbow on Vox and went for a Samoan drop, but Vox hits a super kick. I mean, just clunky. For lack of a better term, I think all these girls are decent. They just need more ring time, and where better to get it than on a YouTube-based show that has actual production value. Anyway, so Steel manages to hit a code breaker on Bell for the win, and Vox and Steelz are quite, they're green, but they've got potential. It's interesting that in a world where there aren't nearly enough women, this is revealed by who the NWA has. Allison Kay's one of my favorite women overall. Thunder Rosa has a lot of potential, but then there's a drop off, I think, not so much in quality, just in experience level, and that translates to in-ring challenges from time to time. So then we move on to a promo by, let's see, I think this is where the Eddie Kingston promo kicks in. I'm not a fan of Kingston's. He comes out with James Storm and Eli Drake, and they talk about how they're going through some. Kingston talks about how he's going through some stuff with Homicide. Asks the crowd not to make fun of him or pick on him for that. I don't know. It just seemed awkward. Some people may like it and call it a good attention to detail. I didn't like the delivery of it, but that's just me. Kingston says he wants Storm and Drake because they're fighters and they're the best tag team in the world at the moment because they have the titles, and he worked with them to get them where they are. He sent them to take care of the bouncers. Bouncers are now gone. He wants to focus on the Pope. Storm says he's always wanted to make sure the fans went home happy. I'm not a fan of this either. I mean, I get it. Wrestling is show business, but, less than 2 months ago, Storm was angry and miserable, and now he's worried about the fans going home happy. It just doesn't make sense. Drake pointed out that he wanted to be the Crockett Cup winner. He says the bouncers came and went, and he says he's a fighter. And they talk about the differences in the trio, but that they're all fighters, and then they hit the sorry about your damn luck tagline. Anyway, so we go to the main event, which is Nick Aldis, Tom Latimer, and or those are the two men from the Strictly Business faction versus Marty Scurll and Brody King. For some reason, I remembered this was supposed to be a six-man, and that's where my mind went for a minute, but I guess not, just a tag. Scurll starts off the match with Aldis. Aldis and Scurll had matches a couple of years back that were very good. They actually came up in the same promotions in the UK, so they have a long history with each other. Aldis immediately tags out to Lemire. Scurll was about to lock up with Lemire, but ducked and tagged King. And then, so Brody King gets some time in the ring here. King went for a chop on Latimer, but he ducks and hits a shoulder block. Latimer hits a drop kick on King. King responds with a shoulder tackle. and then chops him really, really hard. King is a guy who he's got massive power. Reminds me of a young Vader in a lot of ways. Um, and then we see a knee lift to the back of King from the outside. Vladimir hits the ropes, but Skrull hit a knee of his own, and then he tags in. Skrull hits a chop and an uppercut, while the referee told him to get back. Skrull hits the rope and claps his hands, pointed to Aldos like Aldos didn't need him in the back. That obviously didn't happen. Referee starts arguing with Aldos though, and then Skrull hits a drop hold on Vladimir and King. Hits a splash. Skrull hits the apron super kick on Vladimir, but Aldos shoots Skrull toward the floor, and then Vladimir drives Aldous drove Skrull rather into the ring post and started to punch him, go after the stairs, and use any weapons he can get his hands on. Aldous comes back in, and now he's squaring off with Skrull. They have a good history together. Just an FYI, right now, less than 100 days away from Nick Aldis being in the top 10 all-time combined reigns champions of the NWA. I think that's really cool, and I hope that continues. I've always been a proponent for longer title reigns. If you don't have at least a 6 month plan for a guy holding a championship, I don't believe he should hold it, or a lady for that matter. But I'm also more on the line of wrestling championships should be like MMA or boxing championships, where the length of reign and quality of defense should matter more than storyline. To me, the championship all of them should be protected more than any individual talent, because they will be there even if somebody leaves the company. Anyway, so Nick Aldis rakes the eyes and distracts the ref for some cheap double teams with Vladimir, and then the Skrull gets beat down for the next little while. Vladimir goes for a vertical suplex, but Skrull hits a vertical on his own, and then tags out to King. King chops the heck out of both his opponents and goes to town. Crushes him in the corner with his weight. Clothesline and Zingari combination on Vladimir. Skrull hit the sunset flip on King, which sent him up for the German suplex of Vladimir. Aldis ends up back in. King hits a pile driver on him, and Vladimir made the save. Skrull puts the ropes down. Vladimir falls out to the floor. Skrull does a fake super kick on Aldis and then goes for chicken wing, which is the beginning of his finish. But Camille comes out and distracted the ref. Aldis went for an umbrella shot, but Skrull ducked and took it from him, and he hit the running in Royce Isaacs. Skrull hits a dive onto Isaacs. I mean, you see, here's a place where a dive means something, because this isn't like the 17th one we've seen all night. Less is more, folks. Anyway, Vladimir low-blowed King, and Aldis hits a flying elbow and pinned him. Good match. It's sad that it doesn't continue. Billy Corgan says, despite all the money troubles, despite where the world is, the NWA is not going to die. He mentions NWA Candyland starting next week. Not a fan. Hope it's not related to the children's board game for 6-year-olds. But like I said, try to fit it into the schedule and see what we can do. In any event, this has been the NWA review for the 12th of May. And I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.